All right, welcome in. Football season is here. It is September the 4th. The Eagles and Cowboys play tonight. The Chiefs and Chargers play tomorrow night. And then we're off and running with a full Sunday of action in just 3 days. But right here, right now, we want to get you another Breer Report. This a mailbag edition. Hopefully, I'm hoping to punch out a print edition for you as well here over the next 24 hours or so. So keep an eye out for that on the mmqb.com. But again, we're going to answer 3 of your questions right here, right now on the Breer Report. First question comes from David Crumelo. That's at dcrum59. Which team do you think will catch all of us by surprise in a good way this season? And I'm going to give you a couple answers to this, David. My first answer is going to be the Houston Texans. And that's at the upper level. That's at the, you're expecting them to be good, but they could be great level. And there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, this is DeMeco Ryans' third year there. This is CJ Stroud's third year in the NFL. And he has new offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, who's going to come in and empower him. And a lot of the things that made CJ Stroud great at Ohio State and made him the second overall pick in the draft as a result of that was because they empowered him. And Ryan Day at Ohio State gave CJ Stroud a lot of control at the line and ability to adjust on the fly. He didn't have as much of that his first couple of years in the league. And now he's going to get it with Nick Caley as his offensive coordinator. Also, Stroud's got really good weapons around him. Nico Collins, a bona fide number 1. The 2 kids from Iowa State that they drafted, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, both look like they are going to be year 1 contributors. You've got Christian Kirk as a veteran receiver there, a reliable tight end in Dalton Schultz. You got some questions at running back, and we'll see what happens with Joe Mixon about a month from now. But Nick Chubb comes in as a pro at the position. Maybe you get a little bit more out of Damian Pierce. And I think they might have the best defense in all of football. I think the best defensive line in football right up there with the Rams and those 2 edge guys they have and Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter at corner, a real strength for the team, a real strength for the team with Derek Stingley Jr., arguably the best corner in the league, right there with Pat Surtain. They're probably 1-2 in some order, and Kamari Lassiter on the other side. So a great defense, a great group of skill players around CJ Stroud, and the one swing factor for the Houston Texans, maybe as much rides on this position group as any position group in the league, and that's the Texans' offensive line. Can Ariante Ursary, their second-round pick out of Minnesota, be the left tackle? Can he settle in and become the left tackle and give them a high-level play there? They love the way he looked in training camp. We'll see what it looks like when he gets to the season. What do the interior spots look like? Is Titus Howard playing guard or tackle? So how that group comes together, because they decided to hit the reset button in trading Laramie Tunsil. They felt like that room was toxic last year. They wanted to start over a little bit. What does that room look like with Nick Caley as the offensive coordinator, Cole Popovich as the offensive line coach? If the offensive line comes together in Houston, I think they're the team in the AFC has the chance to break through that glass ceiling and be in that tier where we've seen over the last few years. Cincinnati when they've been healthy, Kansas City, of course, winning the AFC the last 3 years in a row, Baltimore, Buffalo. If there's a team that can break through that tier, I think that the Texans have the ability to get there if the offensive line comes together. The second answer I give you to this question, and this is a team that I was with very recently, so maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment. I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants are a little bit better than people think. I think they've got a chance to be really good on the defensive side of the ball, and I may be taking the bait that I took last year when they weren't very good overall. But last year they were really good. Last year they had a ton of injuries. This year they come back with a really good base of talent on the defensive side. Dexter Lawrence, one of the best defensive linemen in football. On the edge, they've got Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, who had a great summer, and Abdul Carter, who looks like he's going to be a force coming off the edge. They'll have an ability to disguise, do different things with their group up front. They've got a good group of linebackers. The corner position, the safety position, those spots are going to be what determines how far they can go. But they add Paulson Adebo, to that group there, and Javon Holland to that group there at corner and safety. And so they're going to be a lot better on the back end. If the defense can be really good and the offensive line can come together, they got Malik Neighbors. Theo Johnson's got a high ceiling at tight end. Tyrone Tracy's got a ceiling at running back. So what do they get out of the quarterback position? Russell Wilson's actually had a really nice offseason. So we'll see where that goes. And Jackson Dart, they'd be comfortable putting him in a game right now. And so that means you've at least backstopped yourself at that position in a way that you weren't backstopped last year. So I really like where the Giants are going into the year. We'll see what it adds up to. They've got a tough road to hoe with the schedule. The NFC East draws the NFC North and the AFC West. So that's a tough slate that they're facing this year. But I like the Giants to bounce back and at least be in the hunt going into December and January. All right, question number 2. This is from Phil Martello. That's at Martello16. Do you think McDermott is on the hot seat if he doesn't get the Bills to the Super Bowl this year? I'll hang up and listen. # Bills Mafia. This question, and I got it on the radio this morning with my guys Jonas Knox, LeVar Arrington, and Brady Quinn. This question's an interesting one because I think it relates back a quarter century. And, when I asked this question this morning, the first thing that popped into my head was the Tony Dungy Buccaneers. And Tony Dungy was responsible for taking the Buccaneers franchise, which people maybe don't remember, was a complete laughingstock for most of the 90s. So Tony Dungy gets there, I believe it was in 1996, and is able to turn that franchise around, get them off the mat. They go to the NFC title game in 1999. They completely reimagine what they are as a franchise. And then, after knocking on the door a few times, frustration sets in. They made a run at going and getting Bill Parcells. That doesn't work out, but they wind up with John Gruden instead. And John Gruden comes in there and wins a Super Bowl in his first year. So we've seen those sorts of things before. So that discussion might happen if the Bills don't get there. They've been to the AFC title game twice now under Sean McDermott. This is a franchise that hadn't been to the playoffs in 18 years before his arrival. Josh Allen was the MVP of the league. He's going to turn 30 in May. So these questions, I think, are fair questions to ask based on where they are and based on the opportunity that's in front of them, based on who their quarterback is. But they're not happening internally. So, like, for right now, I look at the job that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have done over the course of the last few years, and I think they're actually a little bit more like where Bill Polian and Peyton Manning were, in that 2004, 2005 range where they were knocking on the door, and, like they just needed things to fall into place to get over the hump against a team that had really sort of closed the gates for everybody at that time. And that was the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. And they finally got there. So I think they're going to get there. I have them winning the Super Bowl this year. I picked them to beat the Rams this year. But I could see where those questions do get asked. Again, there's no sense or indication that I'm getting that those questions are being asked internally. But certainly, if the Bills fall short again, you're going to start to hear that noise. Question number 3, this is from Chirpin USA, at Chirpin USA. Is anyone pushing the NFL about this decision to put commercials on RedZone and the blatant disrespect for fans of the shows? So I want to answer this question respectfully, Chirpin, because I said something about it on Twitter yesterday, and I don't want to be disrespectful in the way I address fans on this, but I would repeat what I said, which is if you're surprised by this, I'd say you haven't been paying attention to the way that the league has operated over the last 10 years. There's a private equity mindset in the NFL now. And what does that mean? Well, that means if you're not growing, you're shrinking. The NFL basically operates as if they're answering to shareholders, which the league office sort of is with the owners, the 32 owners as being the stakeholders in the league. And so how can we grow profits? And that's why, Roger Goodell's charge has always been to get to $25 billion in annual revenues. And that's why you see this mentality where they're constantly shaking the couch to see if any quarters will fall out. And this is another way of collecting quarters off the ground. And their bet here, all right, their bet here is that they can do whatever they want with this sort of stuff to monetize the league in any way that they want. And you're going to tune in because it's football. And the people who are most upset about this, and this is the cold reality of it, right? The people who are most upset about this are the people who are least likely to tune out, right? I mean, the fan that is, again, this is the fan that's locked in. This is the fan that's going to pay attention, that's going to watch no matter what. So all of us can scream and yell about what we don't like about it, but they have us, right? this is, again, a crude analogy, but we're the crackheads and they're the dealers, and they have all of that, So I understand fans being upset about it. I don't like the idea of it either. And I'm with all of you on that. Like, I think that there is definitely an element of greed here, but that's how they've operated forever and ever. So you shouldn't be surprised by it. And again, I'm trying to say that with all due respect to all the fans out there who are upset about this, because if I was, a guy like where my escape was watching the NFL on Sundays, and it's my job to do a little different for me, but I would be upset too. And you guys have every right to be upset about it. You guys have every right to make noise about it. But the problem is that all of you will be watching on Sunday, which means there's no motivation for them to do anything but to continue to reach into your pockets. Appreciate you guys coming out. Can't wait for the season to start. Big game tonight, big game tomorrow night. I'm fired up to have football back because, again, that's what this is all about for me and for all of you. I say this at the beginning of every season. I have such a great appreciation for the sport. It's meant so much in my life. I actually am coaching my kids' team now. We'll be at a high school game tomorrow night. I'll be locked in on all the college games on Saturday, and I can't wait for the NFL to be part of what's really ramped up here the last couple of weeks with the return of football season. And we will have another Breer Report coming on Friday, so you can look out for that. As always, give me all of your feedback at Albert Breer on Twitter, at Albert R. Breer on Facebook, at Albert_Breer on Instagram. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody.